Join us on Path of Faith, where we delve deep into the heart of spirituality, offering insights and inspiration to illuminate your path towards a deeper connection with God.
Murder this childish instinct that exists within you, which makes you afraid of life's discomfort. The discomfort of life, when well lived, it only makes us better. Take this little poor mask that you stick to your face for others to be eternally sorry for you. You only waste time in life like this. What a silly. God holds us in our hand is for us to be able to cross this desert. It is not to be falling forever and again eating the onions of Egypt, because we had pity of us. Because we had to pity the other. No, the walk is forward that goes, and the time comes when Moses arrives before God and speaks. Now you solve this situation, because I don't know what else to do. They have already built a gold reservoir halfway. They have already been confused. They are already worshiping even other situations. And they are not even remembering that the Lord exists. They just don't come back because they're too far away. But they return in another way. Do not return in geography. They do not return geographically because they were far from Egypt. They would die halfway. But they did not return geographically, but they returned affectionately. Because sometimes we have already surpassed the territory of our physical slavery. I already got out of jail, but the jail didn't leave me. That's how it works. I already stepped towards my freedom, but I didn't achieve my freedom. I did not decree the conquest of my freedom. So I am affectionate me past, mourning the onions of Egypt, mourning the dating that ended, the situation that was over, the friendship that was betrayed. So when Moses is before the Red Sea and he gets terrified, because now they had nowhere to go, or cross the sea, or return to Egypt, and the Pharaoh's army was coming to capture them, which he does. He has a private meeting with the Lord, a particular urgent audience. Call God's secretary and speak. For God's sake. You ask him to serve me today, that I can no longer be without that answer. Pharaoh's army is coming. And then he thinks God would give him an easy answer, right? Was going to give a quick solution? No. What does God say? Remember, Gil. Remember? Run, right? Enter this water. Look what a strong phrase. Tell the people to walk. I will not do for you what only you can do. I will give all the graces to make the miracle happen. I will strengthen your courage. But if you do not put your foot in the water, if you do not challenge this sea, it does not open. And that's what the people did. Moses ahead, certainly full of fear too, right? Oh, my Father of mercy, what will happen now? When he started entering, putting his feet in the water, God does his part. My people, it doesn't even matter if it happened this same way. It matters to us is the fact that God does this daily in our lives. Whenever I encourage myself to overcome the seas that challenge me, I am exercising God's care in my life. Whenever I encourage myself to put my foot in the sea that threatens me, I am fulfilling the promise that he will always be by my side. You to do the same thing. Whenever you challenge your seas, whenever you face your discomfort, when you are not afraid of the discomfort that comes to you, when you look at him in front, you speak now? What are we going to do from this moment? What do you bring me good? What are you challenging me? I will recruit my best parts here, because that alone interests me. If discomfort comes to me, I need to cross this desert to know so I can reach this part of the promised land that awaits me. That's how it works. There is no magic formula for life. Although we did not believe God, we would have to live the discomfort that makes us grow. Even those who do not believe in God need to face the discomfort of his history, his existence. Now, of course, when we believe in God, when we credit that there is someone superior to us enabling us to make the crossing, an extra comfort is offered to us. Therefore, based on the experience of this comfort I have done, which you have done, at many times when this God's hand has taken care of us, and that we continue the process of walking confrontation. It is confrontation. The word is this. If we do not live the daily confrontations of our deserts, our conflicts, our fears, we will never come to the knowledge of the earth that He has prepared us. We go to a quick break. In a moment, we come back. We are back with the Spiritual Direction program. Good night, Christian. Everything is right there? Let me greet you today? No. I think we recorded here before. I don't know what I did. It's just that I'm old. He's sleepy. If you look at Christian today, including I will ask you until you focus it a little more, it's more sleepy than normal today. It's almost sleeping. He said that the mosquitoes in his house have already gotten used to that little liquid that we put to burn, to scare. Look how interesting. I didn't even know what I was going to say. When I started singing the music, I was going to talk about God's protection in our lives. But I didn't know that I would end up in all the unprotecting protection. The discomfort of the road, the desert, as essential to human, non-naked human life. And that no naive religious view can prevent us from understanding life like this. Difficulty as a natural process in our lives. And then look at the text I had prepared for today, which is in Matthew 10, verse 34. Do not think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I didn't come to bring peace, but the sword. In fact, I came to put an opposition between the son and his father, the daughter and his mother, the daughter-in-law and her mother-in-law, in a special way. Play, it is not written here, and the enemies will be the family themselves. Who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Who does not take your cross and does not follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever seeks your life will lose it, and whoever loses his life because of me will find it. It is not Sao Paulo who is saying this, not John. It is Jesus. It is a text said by the Master himself. Look how interesting, my people. When you realize that this harsh word of Jesus, it is to help us understand the cross of life. He didn't come to pass butter on bread. He did not come to propose to him with each other. Christ himself tells us that this sword that he puts within our relationships is precisely to make us grow. It is to make the papers well. It is the confrontation experience that this we will live in our life. Do not think that your relationship with your mother is a beautiful relationship that will never be questioned. No, it's not like that. The mother and daughter relationship, if you do not establish this confrontation at the right time, peace is not enough. Because that veiled conflict it's not like this. The same thing in our relationship indoors when you realize that it is existing. A conflict that never resolved because the issues were never put out. We never had the courage to put on the table. I remember well, the day because the minor has a hard time establishing a clash with his own mother. The mother is a sacred territory that we do not have the courage to question. And I remember this is very cultural. We come from a family, a matriarchal cultural structure where women have a very large power. And I remember right when this conscience came to me and I spoke to my mother, Mother, I love you so much. But I am also able to hate her. Then we get that fright? No, the son hate his mother, not hatred for wanting to kill. Playing the window. That's not that. It is in the sense that you reject a number of aspects of her personality that are on you, and that you have taken over an imposition when you identify that there are aspects of your personality that are very similar to your mother, and that you deeply reject what we would like to have the right to break free. So, Mother, you are a sacred territory, but I have to have the courage to recognize the excesses you teased in me. Then, my people, it seems that a sword cuts their hearts, right? But the resurrection that comes later because you disagree, you begin to have the courage to establish confrontations with all the respect your mother needs and deserves. Mother is a sacred territory that should never be disrespected, but can be contested at the right time and the right way. You chose to live like this. This is not my choice. So we need to keep loving. We can establish this clash, and we keep living with deep respect for each other. And so, when Jesus says that he brought this clash, this sword, is not to separate us from each other. No, it is to unite us the right way. Because sometimes a union only really happens after many conflicts. We need to get rid of the naive views. This person is perfect. Look how beautiful our love is. Then it lasts 2, 3 years until the princes remove the masks. And you find that it is just a rhino, which had a cute face at first, and is a monster capable of trampling everything you have sacred. So we remove the naive view of our relationships, and then you start to have a palpable terrain where love is possible. Yes, imperfect people can love and establish very beautiful, very edifying, very interesting relationships. But then from now on, I will dispute everything. No, it's not like that. Be wise. It begins to identify what in your life needs to be confronted. Many situations do not if they solve. It is because we don't tell each other that it bothers us. But we don't do the right way because we complain all the time. All the time we complain, we scream. But we do not confront. The confrontation is when you mark the time, the place, sit everyone at the table, or sits you and your husband and speak. Look, you know what you were doing? This is not fair to me, it is not fair to your children, and if you do not make a decision, we will act. It's the same to be assaulted, right? There are people who get used to the aggression. Get used to the aggression? The whole life is assaulted and gets used to the condition of victim. It's not like this. It can't be like that. We have to problematize what in life is assaulting us. Because sometimes aggression is not a slap, it is not a kick. It is not a kick. It's a word, it's a look, it's a posture, it's a way of interpreting. So, if I interpret the other as an eternal territory where I can manifest all my wrath, where I can dump all my excesses, and he gets used to being it, I am assaulting very cruelly, as cruel as giving a slap. So, if we do not break, if we do not establish the confrontation that will break this process that gets sick, it is very likely that we die without having the possibility of stepping in the promised land we can reach. Then Jesus continues, "Who loves his father and his mother more than me is not worthy of me." We can at first think that Jesus is needy here, right? Oh, he just wants love for him. No, this is also a naive vision. Let's overcome these naive views. Here, the love that Jesus is speaking refers to the ability of us to take everything he teaches us and put it much more important as what my father and mother taught me. May my father and mother, because they are marked by sin, teach me a lot of things. Oh, but it teaches me a lot of wrong things. With his own example indoors. How many of us, you who are watching me, can you say that? How many wrong things in life did you see inside your home? And you don't have to go too far to see the perdition of the world. Sometimes it is inside, with a lack of testimony, with a lack of honesty, with a lack of truth. The vices we criticize so much that they are present around the world. Sometimes they are here inside our home, on our side, being promoted by people who love us, and giving an example to children who are growing up. Our sides need conversion. Yes, my people. So when Jesus speaks, "Who loves his father and his mother more than me, is not worthy of my kingdom." Why? Because that cannot reach the kingdom that is not convinced, touched, modified by the mind of Christ. It is Christianity. It is the mind of Christ in mind. It is the thinking of Christ in mind, and the good educator never gives his disciple the ready lesson. It would be a crime against the disciple to offer him the ready lesson. The master gives the certainty of his presence to withdraw any questions, to be able to help dissolve what is disrupting and harming learning. But at times, the disciple will have to live with his loneliness. The master silences and refuses to give the answer we seek so much. Isn't it like that in life? There are answers that God can only answer us through his silence. This is God's hand also supporting us, because sometimes we have the illusion, and this is the result of a naive vision. Unfortunately, religious discourse throughout our lives can put us naive visions that God will do everything for us, that God does it, that God does that. It is true. We have the right to believe in divine protection, but we are not unaddressed to do our part, because it is a matter of wisdom, of maturity. The Father does this to his Son. I really like this expression. We only have the right to wait for the impossible after we did everything that was possible to us. So, God protects us, yes, but he also asked me to do my part in this protection. I pray to God for my life. I ask him to give me help. But I need to do my part so that this health is a reality in my life, isn't it? The care I have with me is an expression of my part, the miracle that I need to perform daily. So sometimes I identify the hand of God being present in my story, but not holding back as I think it holds. Yes, some helplessness are too important in our human process. It would be very interesting if we learned this from the crib, but unfortunately not. So it's never too late for us to learn. The depletion we sometimes feel in life is also the hand of God, because he who loves unprotects, so that you are exposed to what you need to live and try alone. His presence always looking at us, always guiding us, because this is very interesting. The more we grow, the more we mature in our experience with God, the greater the ability we have to hear and understand his voice in our history. So God protects me like this, even when he is distant, you know? It is not that it is distant, it is that we feel because of life situations. The context disadvantages to perceive this intense presence in our lives. So that moment of disconsolate, "Ah, my God, it seems that I am abandoned by the Lord." No, it is not. This disconsolation is part of his protection in our life, because those who love know very well that love also needs to go through the harsh experience of unprotection. Because too much love unprotects. It is not how it works. When a person is excessively protected in the background, otherwise there is a depletion, because that person cannot mature. So she will be eternally naive, be forever believing that she is inside a fairy tale, and life is not a fairy tale. So, believing in God's protection does not give us the right to think that God will do everything for us, that will walk for us. No, he will always be strengthening us ahead of these battles that we will face ourselves. But we will be responsible for performing the part that fits us. It was like this with Moses. This song quotes Moses, right? It was this hand that helped Moses divide the sea into two. There is a great wealth in this passage that is in Exodus. When Moses is terrified because he withdrew the people from Egypt and came out towards this protected, not protected, promised land. See? But it's also a little protected, right? The promised land would be achieved, a promise God made to Moses, as long as he was encouraged to remove that people from slavery and cross the difficulties of the desert seas. Note that anyone who has had the opportunity to go to Israel knows very well what the desert is. You get into that desert to reach a place we don't know where it is, which is only in a man's heart, as a promise is a great difficulty. The people believed when, after Moses, began to live the restrictions of the desert. Hunger. He began to miss the onions. Because in Egypt they ate onion. In the time of slavery. You may have listened to this expression when someone advises you to mourn the past. What is to regret the onions of Egypt? That saying, "Oh, I was a slave, but I had that food. I had onion to feed. And now I'm free, but I have nothing." Give the desert time. Allow the desert to tell you what it needs to say. Even hunger, the restriction, it is very important in the human process. We identify all the time that people are spoiled because nothing has lacked. Terrible! When you have a child who has been pampered since childhood, she has not missed anything at all. And suddenly, in the breakdown of life, suddenly, that person needs to face the desert of life, and she has no enough ammunition to handle. Then do what? How do we face the desert? There, at that moment, when Moses removes the people from slavery and encourages to take this people through the desert, on their way to the promised land, they also feel afraid. He also does not know what he will be. That is why he all the time, through God's manifestations at that moment in Moses' life, he communicates with God. It is the epiphanies, which are these glorious manifestations of God there, through simple reality. It is the burning bush. It is the stone that gushes the water. Anyway, God is talking to Moses, giving him signs that he is on the right track, but does not deprive him of the desert's dispersion. Then, unprotected in that desert, materially speaking, he can make confidence in God that no other comfort had given. See how interesting it is? As unprotection, apparent disprotection, it is all reserved and behind the scenes care there. Just as you are a parent, and you create a restriction on your child so that he can mature, isn't it? Sometimes you take something out of your child so that he really misses it so that he can later value later. I say again, many people go wrong in their lives because nothing has lacked. Then you notice that when it is so much left can also cause an imbalance, a lack of confidence in life, in people. Anyway, it is the balance that works. When you start educating by placing protection and apparent unprotections, where that person will have to face the situation alone, even if you are seeing from afar. I faced situations in my extremely difficult life that the other was not enough to say, I'm here. Why? Because they were mine. Even help, you look to the side, know that there is a friend with you, that there is a mother, that there is a father, a brother, but in many moments of our lives, this Calvary Isto be lived in solitude. That's when I need to live this feeling of being unprotected. Just as Moses lived by setting the discomfort of the desert, when facing those discomfort, he understood what the human condition is. So I also make this experience. You do. I don't want to spend my life in white clouds. I don't really want to. And that's why since a boy, when life was hard to me, I found something in that discomfort that made me think louder, that made me think beyond. Moses, living the discomfort of the desert, needed to convince those next to him that that discomfort would be worthwhile. Some wanted to go back to slavery. Look how it is. Many people. I will give you a simple example for you to understand. There are people who need to break with dating who are terrible, disastrous. That person only hurts you. You know it. But you have a bond with them. You have affective need. You can't break that relationship. So you suddenly encourage yourself, you get all clear before you. That person doesn't do me good. I can't marry that person. Because if in the time of dating is already like this, imagine at the time of my marriage, then in my married time, will become a worse hell than it is already. Then you encourage yourself, motivated by people next to you, to break. It's terrible the day you break. Suffering is cruel within you. It seems that you will never recover again, that you only think of that person. Why? Because although it makes you so bad, you have a sick bond with it, of affective dependence. You know she is bad for you, but you don't know how to live without her. Then you start to take steps. The first week is horrible. You suffer. You cry. You can't hear the music. You can't smell. You can't see that little piece of, I don't know what he forgot at your home. That all that is terrible. But suddenly you start taking liberation steps. It's like you are walking towards a land that will only do you good. And a month later, that suffering got better. 2 months later, that better suffering. And suddenly you are no longer remembering that there is still a silent bond being disarmed. Because affective dependence, it does not die overnight. We need it. It's as if you are choking a cancer cell with the chemotherapy process, That you are removing the life of the cancer cell, which is the cell that kills us. Then let's say 3 months later, you meet again with that person and you have that famous relapse. There it is ready. The castle you were building, the floor you had walked, that had been so difficult you throw away and you come back to Egypt. You return to slavery. You do the same as Moses' companions wanted to do. Eat onion again, eat the rotten, damaged food again. Then you resume that relationship because it is sick and you have not taken care of the proper distance you should maintain. Because when you have this affective dependence, you have to establish the distance. Because otherwise, you don't heal. You have to stop wanting to know about that person's life because otherwise, you don't heal. You needed to stop running down her Facebook because otherwise, you don't heal. You need to stop investigating your life. Where did she go? Who was she with? You have to cease all the points that may make you want to go back to Egypt because otherwise, you will never break free. Then, 3 months later, you are beautiful and beautiful already. Killing the carcinogenic cell. You will give more kisses in the mouth. Come back to that horrible dependence. And hell returns in your life. In your first week is even good that everything is returning. In a moment, my daughter, you are in hell worse than you were 3 months ago. And so, when we do not know how to live the discomfort that builds us, we get boycotted all the time. It's like stopping drinking, it's like stopping smoking. You run out of smoking a year and you celebrate because you stopped throwing that cancer toxin on your body. And suddenly you go there and light a silly cigarette and that addiction comes back like a monster capable of eating you whole lot. All that sacrifice you made of the early days without smoking go to the bag. Why? All that sacrifice goes to the bag. Why? Because you were not able to live the discomfort of renouncing. My people, it is impressive how this hand of God helps us like this, making us aware of what we need to break in our lives. These are situations that we need to set limits for them, because otherwise we will never be healed. We will be eternally ill in line with the needy, crying and begging a bolt of kindness of the other, a roll of affection for each other. For God's sake, we were not made for it. We were not made to drag affectionately dependent on others. We were made to love. And love has only meaning in our life if it is to build us, if it is to help us cross the discomfort of the desert. Otherwise, it makes no sense. This pseudo-love, this false love, which sometimes we say feel about each other, which does not help us in the discomfort of the desert. I need to live my deserts. You need to live yours. And true friends are those who recognize the deserts that the other needs to pass and speak. That's right. Let's go through this desert because you need it. Now, Apolloniana. She wants that happy, ordained life. Remember that character? Apolloniana, where everything was the happy game, right? So as to